So the question of the day is, why do we have trained killers who trained military personnel who are mentally unstable um, left unchecked? I think now, we're beginning to see the outcomes of not fully going into a war or a situation, without the proper review of the scope of the war. Basically, we're not looking at the bigger picture. We're going in not necessarily by gut feeling, but we're going in on instinct, to protect ourselves first and to exert our military muscle, as opposed to trying really looking at the situation and really trying to be diplomatic about it. Um, I just always find it interesting how people talk about diplomacy, but are willing to kill somebody before they are willing to speak to them and settle things as adults, as rational beings. Not to say that war is never necessary or war is never something that we need to go into, but I start to question it when we're in war for almost 30 years continuously, and we're always in a war, in multiple wars. I start to question our motives behind it. That's just me though. But again, we should really be looking into the whole scope of these wars as we get into them. And what's beginning to come apparent right now is the fact that our young men and women are dying. Our young soldiers are coming home, unstable, having seen and experienced horrors basically that none of us have experienced or probably can even imagine. They're coming home and out of fear of being, outcasted or seen as being different or treated differently, you know, they don't seek the help that they usually need, because you don't want to, especially if you're a military person, you don't want to be seen as weak. Nobody wants to be seen as weak, but definitely as a military person, you're taught to be strong. You're taught to be mentally strong, and the fact that you're having help from a professional, that makes you, not only does it make other people around you, question your mentality, but it makes you question your own mentality, because you're going to sit there and think, wow, am I really messed up? And people don't want to think that. No, nobody wants to think that. So, you know, it's easy to see where they come from on that side, but it's also easy to see that they need help. They do need help, and we need. It's up to the people around them, the rest of the civilian population. It's up to us to understand where they're coming from and to not make it a big deal and to not make them feel as though they're being outcasted or that they're lepers, societal lepers. We need to make sure that they have an inviting home to come to. I've talked to a Vietnam War veteran, and he talked about when he came home just how horrible it was because of how people treated him. The names that they called him, and even got getting spit on. So like how somebody can who does how somebody who hasn't gone to war can treat somebody who has gone to war and laid their life down for this country. That whole situation, I will never understand, and some of it still goes on now. There is, I think, a lot of distrust towards the military, but we can't get that confused with the people who make it up. We can't get the system and the framework mixed up with the actual individuals behind it, because at the end of the day, they are individuals. So, the question was basically, why are there these armed people on the streets? And the answer to how we can get rid of that is to put pressure on our politicians to ask questions before we go into these wars, to put pressure on them, hold their feet to the fire, and then to look for solutions and build an inviting country to the soldiers when they come back. Meaning, we as people need to change our mindset towards them, and we as a country need to install the facilities and the funding that these people deserve. So that's where I want to leave that, and leave your feedback, and appreciate y'all listening.